Well, the deployment of armed servicemen in the Nigerian military to manage the End Bad Governance protests, which have swept across the nation, has ignited a wave of apprehension both within the citizenry and among international observers. The government's claim that the military's role is to ensure public safety and uphold the rule of law has done little to allay these concerns. Instead, it has fueled trepidation over the possibility of escalated violence and the infringement of human rights, given the military's checkered history in such scenarios. At the heart of these demonstrations is a clamor for comprehensive economic reforms and a decisive end to the pervasive corruption that has hamstrung Nigeria's development. The protesters, composed of a diverse cross-section of Nigerian society, are demanding accountability and transparency from their leaders. Their actions are a testament to the growing frustration with the status quo and a call for a more equitable and prosperous Nigeria. The international community watches closely, with many calling for restraint and a commitment to non-violent conflict resolution. The entry of the military into a peaceful protest. Yes, we have seen violence erupt in certain regions. However, prevention of violence, protection of lives and property is the responsibility of the security agencies. It's not the responsibility of a protest organizer to make sure that ailments do not enter the protest. It is the responsibility of the security agencies to make sure that they are at the critical choke points, right, to make sure that they protect not just property, but also the people who are protesting and exhibiting their own constitutional rights to protest. But now, the military has said it's going to come out. We've seen this statement coming from the police, which I found very frightening, alleging that because they are now violent, because we have violence erupting in certain areas, that no reasonable or peace-loving Nigerian will continue to protest. Mm-hmm. But again, this is a protest to end bad governance. This is a protest for hunger, and everyone has the right to do so, regardless of whether there are violent elements.
Absolutely. Yes, you're absolutely right, Adesua. We have seen the police, though, show force throughout this whole process. We saw them tear gas protesters in Abuja, and only yesterday we have seen a bunch of videos that have been circulating on social media showing some wounded protesters by the police. Now, the conversation we're going to have with our guests is whether or not it is proper for the military to be involved in the civic duty of the police.
Major General Ali Keffi, retired, joins us now on this show to discuss this issue. Welcome to the show, sir. Now, I would like to ask if it is proper for the military to get involved in a protest where internal security should be the remit of the Nigerian police, but the military has released statements and saying that it's possible that the military will get involved in this protest. Do you think that that's proper? Do you think that Nigerians who do want to go out and protest will be safe?
All right, thank you very much. First and foremost, let me state that I'm not here speaking on behalf of the military. I speak on my personal behalf. It's a private opinion. Now, to your question, you heard the Chief of Defense Staff, his press statement is a few days ago, I think 2-3 days back, where he came out and said that as part of the constitutional role of the armed forces, right, their secondary role is to support, one of the secondary role rather is to support the police where they are being overwhelmed, where the situation is likely to get out of hand. So it is proper for the military to come in that regard when the situation is getting beyond what the security agencies, the police and others, can hold. Don't forget that the military is the defense force, the armed forces of Nigeria. It is not an internal security, or it is not a security system, but internal security is one of its key secondary roles, because the armed forces has responsibility to ensure that the country is stable. So in that regard, it is very proper. And I must commend the Chief of Defense Staff for his timely statement that he gave out to clarify. And if you will recall, on the 28th of May this year, on the eve of the anniversary of the President Tinubu 1 year in office, I mean, you had me here on this very seat and to speak on, and I spoke on some security and military-related issues. And I pointed out there then also that the military's role, primary role, number one role, if you like, is the territorial defense of the country. But the military also is on hand to step in when situations is getting beyond the control of the civil security agencies. And the situation we have right now in the country, it has reached that stage. Now, you've heard some concerned eminent Nigerians who have come out to speak, to say things in the past, not long ago, some even recently, that we are in a state of war. And that is really just a good characterization or description of the situation. A large swathe of Nigeria, the territory of Nigeria within, are facing insurgency. They are facing a heightened state of insecurity, which is far beyond the capability of the police and other security agencies. So in that wise, right, you are almost in a state of war. And those insurgents, bandits, kidnappers, and the rest are using weapons that are beyond the capacity of the police and other agencies. So in that regard, it is absolutely right and proper for the military to come in. And I also, in that earlier appearance, I also stated that, however, the military, as soon as it restores the situation to a near state of normalcy, they hand over back to the police or security agencies and pull back to the barracks and keep on monitoring the situation. So I think in the context of this present, the four of these protests, right, the military have conducted itself very well. And I say again, I don't speak for the military. I was compulsory retired from the military, so of course I'm not in the military right now. I'm not privy to anything. But with what I've seen so far, I think they've done extremely well. Of course, you may have one or two situations where instances where people may have done things that may be questionable. But I think by and large, the military have acquitted themselves very well.
All right, Major General Keffi, thank you for setting the tone for the conversation. But I'd like to ask you in two parts. First, it will be important to get you clearly. Are you saying that where this protest is day 4, even though things have mellowed down significantly between yesterday and today, are you saying that there is enough ground for the Nigerian army to come in, given the press conference that the CDS gave on Friday? Is that what you're saying? Or do you think that the first 2 days, Thursday and Friday that we had, that the police did a good job and they were able to contain it? Then the second part of my question will be that what is the normal process for the military to be engaged in this type of a civil protest? You recall what we saw 4 years ago in Lagos, when up till today, nobody is sure who invited who, at the point that the military came in and then they started shooting. You know how the story went 4 years ago at the NSAS protest in Lagos. So my question is, what is the process for the army to get involved? Is it not the job of the commander-in-chief, who is the president, to say that as at this point, it looks like the Inspector General of the police and his men are overwhelmed, and therefore I will deploy the army? Or is it the duty of the CDS to come out and say that, oh, if the Nigerian police is not able to contain it, we will go out and support them? Who is supposed to give that order? And then lastly, what will be your thoughts on the tone of what General Christopher Musa, the CDS, said at that press conference when he left the military and the security issue to now be giving justification for the policies of government? You know, telling Nigerians that it is not only in Nigeria that things are expensive. It is not only in Nigeria that food prices are high. Will that be within the purview of his office, by the way?
All right, thank you very much. Triple barrel questions. Let me start with the last question. That is my thoughts on the statement of the Chief of Defense Staff. Well, let me answer it this way, right? I don't speak for the Chief of Defense Staff. I think if you require clarification, he's in a better position or he has his media aids to speak for this. But don't forget that in his capacity as Chief of Defense Staff, he's also in the executive arm of the government. He's part of the executive arm of the government. And I personally don't see anything wrong with what he has said. But again, I don't speak for him. And I think he has very good media aids that can answer this question properly for you. Then to the other questions, the first one you asked, things have mellowed down if there are justifiable grounds for the military, the Nigerian Army military, to come in. The answer is yes. I want to begin by saying that protests and protest movements are very dangerous. I say very dangerous. In the context of a fragile state like we have in Nigeria today. Look at what is ongoing in Sudan today. Recall a few years ago, there was this protest against the government of al-Bashir. Now, they protested, they encouraged the military to come in. The military came in. And, there was a kind of share of power between the armed forces on one side and then also the rapid support forces, the RSF. And you see what now has become of Sudan. The two groups are now fighting themselves. Sudan is now on the verge, totally on the verge of collapse. Now, this is part of the problem of protest movements. Let me also closer home to Nigeria and our sub-region. Look at what happened in Burkina Faso. You recall after the when Blaise Compaoré of Burkina Faso stepped down, was forced to step down out of this. There was an interim government. Thereafter, the military, there was an election, and an elected president was this. Then there was the steep rise in the jihadist, so-called jihadist attack, insurgent attacks against the military forces, against civilians, and this. And then there was a coup led by a lieutenant colonel. He came and overthrew the democratically elected government. And the people hailed them. That is the populace, they hailed. And that did not reduce the killings, that is the setbacks suffered by military, suffered the attacks by the jihadis, so-called jihadis, by the insurgents, by the bandits, continued. And then there was another counter coup led by the current head of the military junta, who is Captain Ibrahim Traore. And now, even with that, you are seeing a situation where, out of trying to ensure regime survival, they turn to the Russians. Wagner, kicks out the French, kick out other Western, and now embrace Russia. And you've seen, even with that, you have seen intensification. Similarly, also in Mali, it was this kind of protesting that encouraged the military to come in, and you have Goita, Lieutenant Colonel, right now in this. And if you recall, a week ago or thereabout, there was an attack on an ambush on the Wagner, that is the Russian private military contractors, the Wagner, which is now renamed Africa Corps. There was an attack on them and the Malian military, and they sustained heavy losses. And the Wagner came up, that's the African Corps, the Russian, came up to accuse some Western that they had a hand in it. And don't forget, in one of my earlier appearances here, I said that you don't expect the French and the Americans to just walk away and turn over what they've invested for long. And that is, you kick out one foreign power and then bring another foreign power that they're going to. So it's still an allegation. It's not proven, but these are the problem you're going to have proxy this thing. Then Thirdly, again, if you look at from the wider context, what is ongoing today, the crisis between Ukraine and Russia, how did it escalate? Of course, Russia, Putin had their concerns regarding the eastward expansion of NATO of West, which they kept on warning for over 20 years, I mean, since Putin came to power. But the culmination of this was in 2014, when the Maidan revolution, if you call Maidan in Ukraine, I'm not, I think it's something to do, revolution of dignity, the Maidan revolution of 2014, when they came and kicked out Viktor Yanukovych, and an ally of the Russian distant. Now, you recall that protest movement. It led to that Viktor Yanukovych being kicked out, and then a government that was friendly to the West up to today, including Zelensky, came and listened, and of course you see what this. So see what protest movement have led. So protest movement, while they are good, there's nothing wrong to this. And I'm feeling the pinch as a retired general, major general. My initial take home, that is my pension monthly, was the equivalent of $3,000. Now with what is going right now, it's less than $900. I'm feeling it. I go to the same market just like anybody, so I'm feeling it. So now these people protesting, right, I agree with their demands. All of us are feeling this hardship. But the protest movement, the way it is existing, you see, you cannot control all stages of protest. I mean, just like you said in the military, no plan survived first contact intact. No plan. So whatever the organizers' lofty plans they had, right, they are not going to control everything. Look at what is ongoing. So we have to be very careful with protest movement. So that is why the military is right, and we're in a state of war as it is, in quotes, that they cannot allow things to get out of hands. And don't forget, we have separatist movements. We have the IPOB. We have Boko Haram. They could take advantage of this. So the military has to stay in the background and watch and ensure that this thing does not get out of hands. And that is why they are. So what you call innocent protest may not be innocent in that regard. And this is playing into the hands of the criminals. So the military, the chief of the civilian staff, in my own opinion, and I don't speak for him, all right, in my own opinion, they are right in what they did. And it's line. Then you asked me a third question, that what is the normal process for the military to listen? Well, if you are very aware of the Constitution, right, and you also the national security policy that is in place, and the defense policy and all the rest, right, you would have seen that at every level, every tier of government, from the local to the state to the federal, there is what they call the security committee. At local government, in the state government, there is a security council. In the federal, of course, that is where you have the president chairing that. Now, so even from the local level, if that community is, you have what you call company, that's about 130 to 150 a subunit deployed there, right? They are part of the security system. The local government chairman heads that committee, right, which we have drawn, that is membership from other security organizations and agencies, the DSS, the police, and other security agencies, and the armed forces too, the military is there, be it Army, Navy, or Air Force are there. So they are there as part of this, and they keep on monitoring. And the police and the military, they speak to each other. The other agencies, they talk to themselves, they have security meetings, they listen. So they are abreast of the happenings. When an agency is out countering or handling a situation, right, other agencies and the armed forces also
Major General,
are monitoring in the background.
Major General, sorry, we are running out of time here. Well, I wanted to ask you this. You know, ahead of the protest, we heard that the DSS had, identified sponsors of this End Bad Governance protest. But they refused to name them. The police, on the other hand, they had said that they are working, to identify the sponsors of the protest. I'd like to ask you, why is it that there is no synergy between these security agencies and so that they can go after these sponsors to avert this sort of mayhem that have occurred during this protest. Now we are hearing that the military will soon identify the sponsors of the looting, which is actually the job of the police. Now we know what happened during the NSAS protests, where the military opened fire. They used live bullets on protesters. We had the Lagos State governor at that time say that they had to intervene to assist the police. I'd like to know, because you are a retired soldier, can you please explain why there appears to be no synergy to avoid these crises that we are facing when it comes to security matters?
Thank you very much once again. I will disagree with you that there is no synergy. And if you recall one of my earlier appearances here, I commended President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for steering the ship of state. And part of that steering the ship of state is ensuring that the squabbles that you used to hear before, where you hear the services, the armed services, the armed forces, now you hear a lot of this and that between the army, the air force, things, kind of as if they are trying to outdo each other. You don't see that in this present government. And similarly also, right, the DSS, the Department of State Services, fantastic organization, the NIA and all of these things, they are collaborating. They speak to each other on daily basis at various levels. So it is not true that there is no synergy. I firmly disagree with that. And and of course, they will not come up on air and start telling you what this thing. They are following up on intelligence. Intelligence is a very delicate something. At what point do you come, to share that? So they are very careful what they release to the public. So, right, the DSS will not come and tell you what they are doing. Or I mean, this is like you are tipping the criminals to run away. And this. When
I say synergy, sir, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I mean, for them to be able to say that they have identified these sponsors, and they actually did say that they are not going to name them, but they should name them to the police. But the police were saying that they are still working to identify. That's the synergy that I'm talking about here. It's confusing to the public. But, before you go, Steve had asked a very important question, and which is, who gives the order? Is it the president or Major General Musa if the military has to intervene? Can you just answer that question, because we are running out of time?
Who gives the order? I said earlier that you have security committees, you have security councils at various levels. So the president commander, that's why he's called the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, not of other security agents, of the armed forces. He's the commander-in-chief. He is giving. Did the president come to say that he didn't give the order to the armed forces? I mean, you are not aware of that. So for the chief of defense staff to come and talk, he must have been given the orders. And don't forget, like we say, we're in a state of war. The military is already deployed, largely deployed in many parts of the state. They are already called out. They don't need another order again to this thing. They don't need to go back to seek for this thing. What is happening in Zamfara? Are you saying if a situation is getting out of hand, I mean, the military is already deployed. Do you want them to now start running to Mr. President? The chief of defense staff go to the president and said, Mr. President, we need orders for us to engage this. And you tell them, well, come on, guys. You already have, you are already deployed. You already carry out this thing. So it is not the CDS on its own given this thing. The situation is, and the talk. Listen, the president is in the picture of this. And you heard in the president's speech this morning. Now, he said that the armed forces, the security agencies and other things should do the needful. Of course, that's what orders do you need again. And then let me just make one point very clear, right? The president says something very important in his listening. He acknowledged. He said, let this protest not lead to unconstitutional taking of power. And that is very key, very germane. We have to be very careful. Now,
Major General Keffi, I'm afraid we have totally run out of time, and we must thank you for the insight that you have brought into the discussion today. I mean, we would have loved to go a lot further, but thank you indeed. We really have to run. Thank you so much.